All right, welcome to the 2024 year in review for Destin and 38 Real Estate. If you know me at all, or if you've been watching this channel for some time, you know I get excited about those quarterly numbers and those reports that we bring you. But now we get to look back at the entire 2024, and what a 2024 it was. It was some highs, some lows, some shifts. I think the summary for me, and I'll give a better summary at the end, but the better summary for me was a resetting of the market coming out of COVID times. 23 was still lingering a little bit. 24, we really, I think, got a snapshot of what the settlement looked like. So, but as we always say on this channel, we don't go by feelings, we don't go by neighbors, we don't go by word of mouth, we go by the numbers, the facts. So this is as detailed as it can get. I'm gonna walk you through the whole thing, and excited to see. I mean, I know that people have some predictions out there about what they felt 2024 went like. I can promise you there are going to be some surprises, and we may be coming out of the gate with some surprises, but let's get right into it. You know, we always start with 38 East End, and then we're going to work our way west, okay? So that starts with Inlet Beach through Grayton Beach, all right? That's how we're going to kick things off. So here we go, 38 East End. I'm going to go over here on the left side of the screen. I'm going to go the past 12 months at a glance. Average price per square foot, $879 per foot. List price to sales price ratio, 94%. For those that don't understand that, what that is that whatever the list price is, the sellers have received 94% of the list price, so buyers were able to get a 6% discount on average. That's an average. 83 average days on market, number of sales 557. That doesn't mean anything to you right now. Now, what's the asterisk we always bring out on the East End? It's home to the big five communities, the new urbanism communities. In particular, the leading price per square foot of Alys Beach and Rosemary Beach, okay? So we're gonna dive into those, but I wanna keep in mind that $879 a foot. Everybody gets the benefit from that, but there's a couple of communities that really just surge that number up. All right, here's the fun part. I'm strictly gonna compare year over year, 12-month period. I'm gonna compare 23 to 24, all right? That's what I'm excited about, and that's what we're gonna do. So I've got the Q4 numbers, like last year's Q4 to this year's Q4, but I think I'm most interested, and you're most interested in, the summary that was 23 versus 24. That's where I'm focusing today, all right? So number of sales in 24 for single family homes on the East End, 137. That is down 4% from 23. 142 versus 137. The past 12 months, the number of sales is down 9%. 38 East End, past 12 months, 9% down. Okay, number of transactions, 557 versus 609. Sold volume up 2% during that same time. So what does that tell you guys? I've heard a lot. Casey, I heard the prices were coming down. East End 38, what are we doing? Past 12 months, the average price point went from, in 2023, 2.327 million up to 2.598. Guys, that is a 12% increase on the average sales price on 38, 2023 versus 2024. I'm sitting with that a minute, because if you expected that, I think if you're very aware of what those new urbanism communities are doing in a whole, you might have expected some of that. But that is a really, really, really good number for a year that felt not that way, okay? List price to sales price ratio, even, 94% in both 23 and 24. Days on market, this is where we're gonna see some increases, I think, across the board. I don't think anybody's gonna be immune to these next two categories. The number of active listings and then the average days on market. Average days on market up 30%. All right, active listings up 17%. So here's what I'm saying. The average days on market went up 30%. The number of listings overall was up 17%, but the average sales price went up 12%. So I know that there are some fundamentals in real estate, and Lord knows I preach them, right? But what we've got here is an increase in inventory, an increase in the time it takes to sell the product, and a higher sales price. And I'm specifically talking about the home because that's the lion's share of the transactions on 38 East End, okay, Inlet through Grayton, all right? Condos, you know, the past 12 months, down 25%, but we're talking about 105, 140 transactions versus 557 and 609. So I usually let the single family homes be the leader in that. Let's see what the average sales price though. average sales price on condos in a smaller snapshot was up 22%, 38 East End. So listen, I mean, 38 East End, if you've known it for any amount of time, 38 East End has been the leader. It's been pushing the envelope. Once we turn the page here, things are gonna settle down a little bit, but I don't care what market you're in the US. In 2024, if you had an increase in sales price of 12%, you are like, I mean, I think South Beach, Palm Beach, they had some of that action, but I can tell you across the board that is not the case. So those are astounding numbers, all right? Gulffront, there's not enough, guys. I mean, 13 sales this year versus 25 last year, but we don't dig into that. It's such a small snapshot. Again, I always invite you, if you're interested in the Gulffront specific homes, I can get you that information because it's very detailed, but I'm gonna keep it broad for the purposes of what we're doing, okay? 38 West End, so now we're talking about the edge of Great Beach all the way through Dune Island to the end of 38, okay? That's 38 West Beach. 38 West End, all right? Let's go to the last year. Average price point, $587. Now again, 38 East End was $867. Casey, I say this every time, Casey, is it that much better on the east end of town? Like they get the higher price? Listen, we don't have on the west, I say we because I live on 38 West End, so forgive me if I get a little bit biased here on West End and protective. But it's very important for me to point out that we don't have the big five communities down here, Seaside, WaterSound, Watercolor, which generate the highest price points anywhere on the Gulf of Mexico. All right? They do. The average price points are astounding. You can do the whole loop. It's amazing. You gotta get down to like South Florida and stuff. So when I say this, when I'm saying $587 per square foot, when we look at some of the other communities outside of those big five on the east end, it's pretty close, okay? So $587 per square foot, list price to sales price ratio, 90%. Average days on market, 145. Number of sales, 226. So we're talking about East End had 550 sales. So let's dive into this year over year just to get to the numbers. 2024 number of sales, 226 versus 247, so down 9% on the number of home sales on West End year over year. Average sales price, look at this, 1588, 2023, 1557, 2024. That's down 2%, guys, but I'm calling it flat. All right, so that's encouraging for the West End, honestly. You're down 9% on the number of transactions, but you were able to hold firm on your pricing. That's how I read that, okay? Let's look at some of these other ones. List price to sales price ratio, right on par year over year. Same as the East End. Acted the same way on list price to sales price ratio. I felt this one, average days on market. This is where and this is where we'll speak on the price point. Average days on market in 2023 was 88, 145. Okay, in 2024. That's up 65%, guys. All right, let's look at active listings. 199 in 2023 versus 231, that's up 16%. So listen to me. For the West End, the average time it takes us to list a home went up 65%. We went up 16% on the amount of inventory that we have for sale, but yet the prices stayed flat. And why I stress on that and why that's a good thing is that those are two of the leading indicators of price point. Like if I interviewed anybody off the street and said, hey, in our area, the average time it took to sell a home went up 65%, and we had a 16% increase in listings. What do you think our price point did? They're gonna say down. And to be fair, to be real, it went down 2%. But I'm not going by that. It really should have probably, with the number of sales, minus 9%, that's what I was kind of expecting. So to be at 2%, that's another clapping for 38 West End. It's really good to hold tight, okay? Hold tight in a, I mean, it was a rumble of a year, okay? So that's really good, super interesting. All right, let's talk about Rosemary Beach. So Rosemary Beach, 2024, the average price per square foot for all sales was $1,348, all right? It's amazing. Continues to be a leader on 38 and on the Gulf of Mexico, to be honest. List price to sales price ratio, 87%. That's a little bit lower. The West End of 38 was at 90%. The cumulative list price to sales price ratio for the East End, where Rosemary Beach sits, was at 94%. So Rosemary Beach was a little down on the list price to sales price ratio by comparison to some of its neighbors. Average days on market, 120. Number of sales, 22. So let's see how that part relates, right? That's what we really want to dig into. So in 2023, we had 23 sales. In 2024, we had 22 sales. So we're down 4%, not much to go off of. Let's call that flat. Anything below 5%, we're calling flat. Sold volume. 2023, we had 118 million sold. In 2024, 88 million sold. That's down 26%, okay? So what does that probably mean for the average sales price for Rosemary Beach? Over 2023, average sales price was $5,146,000. 2024, just over $4 million. That's down 22%. So that really matches the sold volume, okay? List price to sales price ratio. Last year in 2023, it was in line with the rest of the East End of 38 at 94%. This year it checks in at 87%, okay? So the way I take that is that the prices came down some, but it looks like the buyers had more room to negotiate off of those list prices. Okay, that's the read there. Let's look at average days on market. 74 in 2023, 120 days on market in 2024. So that's up 62%, all right? Let's look at active listings. In 2023, you had 15, 18 this year. So listen to me. Here's the thing about Rosemary Beach. It's a super special place. It's a very unique and niche market, right? And what can throw it off? In 2023, they had some very substantial Gulf front transactions, up around 20 million. So when you see some of these numbers and you see that sold volume, those average sales prices come down from 5.1 to 4, in a small sampling like this of like 22 and 23 sales, if you're missing a couple of Gulf front transactions out of that pocket, your average sales price is going to suffer. So I don't think it's bad news necessarily for Rosemary Beach. I think it was an adjustment period in a lot of these categories, but I'm not going to dig in too much on that average sales price because it's such a small sampling. And I know that for the most part, Rosemary Beach on the interior homes have been performing pretty consistently and holding their own, but it's lacking those big splash sales that they had some of in 2023. So Rosemary Beach is still pushing that average price point for 38 East End up there just like Alys Beach is. Alys remains the leader not only on the East End of 38, but in our entire region, and it holds one of the highest price per square foot averages of anywhere on the US Gulf of Mexico. So, average price per square foot in Alys Beach in over the past 12 months in 2024, $1,909 per foot. Just amazing. List price to sales price ratio, 98%. Now listen, that is because they have a lot of new inventory that when it hits the market, it's already under contract and it simultaneously hits the market and closes, and it shows up as 100%. So the East End of 38, their cumulative list price to sales price ratio was 94%. So you can see where this Alys Beach is really driving that up, okay? Really pushing that number up there for it. So 98%, but I want to put an asterisk on that because it's very skewed, all right? Average days on market, 35. Again, we're talking about an average on that end of town of like 80, and Rosemary Beach was at 120. But what I'm saying to you is when those new constructions are hitting, it's showing 0 days on market. So that comes into it. So I don't weigh too much on their list price to sales price ratio and their average days on market. Number of sales, 44, doesn't mean anything right here. But let's go to the numbers and see how it compared to last year. So we're doing trailing 12 months, all right? So in 2023, Alys Beach had, on their homes and townhomes, had 40 transactions. In 24, they actually had 44. They're up 10% on the number of sales. Average sales price was $5.96 in 2023, $6.785 million in 2024. Folks, that's up 14%. So Alys Beach was up on the number of transactions and the average sold price, all right? Average price per square foot, up 9% from $1,700 to $1,900, okay? Some of that has to do with there's been more inventory on the south side of Alys, If you know Alys, you know it's separated by north and south, but regardless, those are incredible numbers, all right? List price to sales price ratio, last year was 97%, this year it's up to 98%. Again, my interpretation of that is new product hitting the market that was already wrapped up, so we don't pay too much attention to that. Average days on market, all on par, guys. So listen, such a small snapshot, but here's what I want to tell you. Last year when I did this video, we were just celebrating the phenomenal feat of averaging $1,700 a foot on all your transactions. And Alys basically said, hold my drink, and went and did $1,900 per transaction. Sold more and sold them for more money. That's the read. There's no other way to lead them. Alys continues to drive. Alys continues to push what we thought was possible here and what we thought was possible anywhere in this region. It's phenomenal what they're doing and what they continue to plan to do. And I can tell you, based on the number of homes that are coming out of the ground there, I'm gonna go ahead and say it when I come to you next year, we're gonna be repeating the same. We're gonna go up across the board. That's my feeling, Alys. The number of transactions may be down, but I can almost guarantee you that price point's gonna hold and that price per square foot's probably gonna go up, okay? Alys Beach, keep doing what you're doing. You're the flagship of the area. You just keep driving that number home and lifting up everything around you. So, well done in 2024. Can't wait to see what you do in 2025. Seacrest Beach. This one's always been kind of a marker for me because Seacrest Beach is an awesome community that is sandwiched right in between two of our most prominent neighborhoods, Rosemary Beach and Alys. And it benefits from it because you can stay in Seacrest Beach and literally walk back and forth and enjoy the amenities of both. Not what I'm saying their pool and stuff, but I'm saying all the restaurants and stuff they have, they're really tied in together. The reason I look at Seacrest Beach is that it's not a new urbanism community, and I like to play off of it because around it are like $1,900 and $1,300 a foot. So what's it doing? I think it's going to be an interesting year for this one. I'm excited to compare versus last year, but let's go to the year overview for 2024. The average price per square foot in Seacrest Beach in 2024 was $715 a foot. List price to sales price ratio of 91%. Again, if you don't understand that, that basically means that when it's listed, the buyers were getting about a 9% discount through negotiation, okay? That's what that number means. Average days on market, 104, and number of sales, 35. Doesn't mean anything right now. Let's go and look, all right? So, 2023, we had 25 home sales in Seacrest Beach. In 2024, 35 home sales. What's that equate to? A 40% increase in a number of transactions in Seacrest Beach. I felt that there was a lot going on. So I can almost guarantee the sold volume is going to be up. It's just how much, right? So sold volume in 2023, 43 million. 2024, 65 million. Guys, that's a 52% increase in Seacrest Beach. This one's going to be a wild one. I can't wait to show you. So 2023 average sales price, 1.726 million. Average sales price in 24, 1,878. Again, this is on 35 transactions. Average price per square foot, sorry, that's up 9%. Average price per square foot went from $695 to $715. That's up 3%. List price to sales price ratio actually went up, guys. 23, it was at 88%. Now it's at 91%. This is an interesting one. So I want to mark this one because in this big report that I'm doing, I don't think that we're going to see a decrease in average days on market, maybe except for Seacrest Beach. Seacrest Beach average days on market in 2023 was 113. In 2024, it was 104. Number of listings. In 2023, they were sitting at 34. 2024, 21. Guys, they went down on the listing inventory by 38%. So here's what I'm saying to you. Seacrest Beach went up 9% on their average sales price. They also reset from 2023 in a lot of respects and went down on the average days on market and down on the existing inventory. That is not the song that's being sung out there. Seacrest Beach is an investor-heavy neighborhood. Reason why is they've had consistent returns year over year. You almost plug and play. A lot of these houses have 4 and 5 years worth of rental history. And now, coming into 2024, I think that's in those numbers that we did in 24 what we're going to be able to expect, okay? So, honestly, that's a really good job on the reset for Seacrest Beach from 23 versus 2024. WaterSound Beach. Now, WaterSound Beach doesn't see as many transactions as a lot of these other communities because they don't have a lot of inventory listed historically, all right? So by comparison, they don't, but they kill it in numbers. And let's just get to that. I'm gonna give you the year overview, 2024 for WaterSound. Average price per square foot, $1,193 per foot. So getting closer to Rosemary. Rosemary was in the 1300s. 92% list price to sales price ratio, very strong. Average days on market, 83. Number of sales, 18. Guys, so we're talking about a tiny snapshot. So we don't paint the picture of 38 with WaterSound, but it's just fun to go through it, right? All right, number of transactions in 23 was 28. This is what I'm talking about. This year, 18 transactions, down 36%. Hasn't been a lot of inventory. We'll see what the inventory numbers say. Sold volume, 128 in 2023, 80 million in 2024, so down 37%. So listen, if the number of sales is down 36% and then the sold volume is down 37%, what's that basically telling us that the average sales price is going to be? Pretty flat. Average sales price, 4.5 million in 2023, 4.4 million in 2024, down 3%. You know me, if it's below 5, we're talking flat. All right? So basically less transactions, less inventory, I think. Let's take a look at the inventory. Average days on market was flat. Look at that, guys, 83 and 83. Active listings actually went up 100%. That's Q4 numbers, okay? We don't have the year that was, but active listings year over year in Q4, 8 versus 16, all right? So listen, overall, WaterSound continues to just thrive. They went up on sold volume in the fourth quarter, but they had just kind of had a reset because they didn't really have a lot of inventory to go by. So when I see a small sampling like this, when I see something below 20 transactions, it's hard to paint a picture of the whole story. I will tell you this, if you got a special product in WaterSound, and I know that there's very little inventory out there, you're gonna be able to command a price. As long as it's well down in the market, there's a marketplace out there for you, and they're getting them done in 83 days. So WaterSound continues to be a leader on that east end, driving that average price per square foot up across the board. Seaside Florida. If you really want to talk about a small snapshot, it's Seaside. It's almost unfair to really break this down, but I'm gonna give it to you. In 2024, their average price per square foot was $1,580. So that's only second to Alys. 93% list price to sales price ratio, right there with the leaders. 74 days on market, only 11 sales, guys. So overall, they had 27% less transactions, and their sold volume was down 36%, okay? So listen, the big driver there is for Seaside is that it's such a small snapshot. If you're all in on Seaside, whenever the opportunity comes up and you like it, you're just gonna have to go pay for it, right? Like $1,580 a foot. We don't see much come on the market in there. You're not allowed to be too picky. So we really have to dig around. The list price to sales price ratio is up there a little bit because you gotta find things off market a lot of times to make it work. So Seaside continues to be a leader in the area. It is the #1 spot. It got all this started on 30A. The tourism there is just amazing. It's a fun place to be. And it continues to not have many transactions per year because nobody that owns in there wants to sell and leave. All right, Watercolor, it continues to be a leader in the area. They've had a lot of transactions. I'm excited to see how it did versus 2023, but let's go through the overview. Here we go, average price per square foot across those single family home transactions in 2024, $1,102, okay? Because of the number of transactions, it doesn't hold up there with some of the Rosemary and Alys price per square foot, but it's still amazing for the number of transactions. 93% list price to sales price ratio, really amazing because they don't have new inventory. So a lot of those communities that thrive on the new construction right now, like Alys, they're really pushed up there, but to see them at 93% with all existing inventory for the most part is really, really good. Average days on market, 80. Number of sales, 54, okay? Now, we're gonna compare that to 2023, all right? So, number of sales in 2023, 54. Number of sales in 2024, 54. Y'all know the math on that. That is flat. That's pretty impressive, honestly. Really impressive by Watercolor to keep the trend going from 23 to 24 on the number of transactions. Now let's check out sold volume. 193 million In 2023, 200 million in 24. Now, what we like to do with this is paint stories, right? So if you've got the same number of transactions, but you went up 3% on your sales volume, what's that mean? Let's go down to average sales price. 3.582 in 2023, 3.7 in 2024. So Watercolor, good job, up 3% on the average sale across 54 transactions. I mean, that's worth a clap. That's really good. That's really steady. I typically call 3% below 3%, below 5% flat. I'll take that. They had the same number of transactions. They basically sold it for the same money. So where a lot of neighborhoods maybe felt a little bit different in 2024, Watercolor seemingly did not, per the numbers, all right? Average price per square foot was $1,087 last year, $1,102 this year, up 1%. Boy, look at this trend. Let's see these down here. Average days on market, 87 in 2023, 80 in 2024. So they actually went down 8%, all right? Down on average days on market, 8%. Active listings, these are Q4 numbers, 35 and 23 versus 47. So they've seen a little bit of a spike as we round the year, okay, versus what was going on last year of 34% more inventory. But guys, I'm gonna say this, even though they're gonna have this little spike in inventory per the numbers here, they are killing it right there. They're not seeing increases like some of the other neighborhoods did. There's a variety of reasons for that. But on 54 transactions, to be pushing the same volume in what a lot of people felt was an adjustment year, Watercolor has to be feeling very, very good about itself, okay? So it continues to thrive, has great amenities. They did a really good job expanding everything. So all signs are pointing north to 2025. We're expecting a rebound year. They settled in, didn't have to adjust any. So I'm expecting big things out of Watercolor in 2025. All right, WaterSound Origins. Now, this was an interesting one. Origins is really a leader in, I mean, honestly, I feel like half of my kids' friends live in Origins at this point. Like, that's what's going on up there. There's so much drive by the locals, second home owners as well, and they're building that place out. It is a city all to itself up there. You can finally kind of go around and live by golf cart up there as much as you want. They got one of the largest Publix I've ever seen there, and a ton of great restaurants, medical offices. It's really coming to life. So average price per square foot in Origins in 2024, $486 a foot. List price to sales price ratio, 97%. Means you get about 3% negotiation, but keep in mind, most of these prices are set, so when they show up on our marketplace closed, it shows 100% list price to sales price ratio because it was a pre-negotiated price. So that number for Origins is not really one that we pay attention to, unless it's just specifically resales. Average days on market, 66. Number of transactions, 148. 148 transactions in Origins. I just broke down Watercolor. They had 54 transactions, okay? Just to kind of put the communities side by side and kind of give you an example of what's going on. All right, so in the past 12 months, number of sales, like we said, 148. The previous year was 171, so they're down 13% on the number of transactions versus 23. Sold volume in 2023 was 214 million. Sold volume in 2024, 187 million, so they're down 13%. Now, look at this. The number of transactions was down 13%, and the sold volume's down 13%. So what's that going to tell us about what's going to be happening with the sales price? Probably going to be flat, right? If both those are the same. So let's look at this and see. Average sales price in 2023, 1.254 million. Average sales price in 24, 1.266 million. That's up 1%, so that's flat, folks. So very flat across the board after you take it. And keep this in mind, they went down on the number of sales. They went down on the sold volume, okay? But in the average sales price, they were able to hang on, right? So that's a really good job because the sold volume had to adjust only because of the number of transactions. And I don't look into it, and this isn't a community where we say, oh, Casey, why did they have less sale or people not wanting to buy there? No, that's not what it's saying, because Origins is very inventory driven based on what's being built and coming off the conveyor line, basically. okay? There's plenty of resales in there, but a lot of the numbers that we're looking at depend on how much they actually get accomplished in the construction in a year that plays into that, okay? So a really good job, they continue to thrive. So list price to sales price ratio, 2%. Again, we don't pay much attention to that in there for them. Average days on market. Now in 2023, it was 37 days and 66 days this year, up 78%. And I can tell you a large part of that is once you start mixing in the resales, all right, with the new construction, because new construction again is coming on, it's going to show 0 days on market. But then when we get those average days on market for the resales, they're going to get more in line with the market. I can tell you though, 66 days on market on the average for Origins is really good compared to a lot of the other communities around the area, all right? And then months of inventory, let's see, active listings. These are Q4 numbers. So in 2023, coming out of December, there were 48 homes on the market. 2024, 59, so up 20% on the inventory. Here's what I don't pay attention to there. Like I said, there are so many things coming and going out there and people putting things under contract before they're built and things like that. It's a very hard neighborhood to get your handle on. But I think that the year-over-year snapshot at least gives you an indication of what the going rate is out there, and it lets you know as a whole that nothing's happening price-wise to the negative in Origins right now. It continues to build out more and more amenities, more and more things to do, more and more things to live by golf cart. The WaterSound Camp Creek amenity to the south, if you choose to join that club from there, is just amazing, all right? And they're continuing that vision and what they're building out, and now they're just releasing some of the most prominent real estate that they have that fronts on some of the lakefront. So just a lot of really good things going on in Origins right now. And if you want to know more about it, take you on a tour, just let us know. We're happy to dig into that even further. All right, Sandestin. Let's look at Sandestin real estate production for 2024. I'm just going to do homes. I'm not going to get into the condos. It's a little bit, it's actually more of a snapshot over there, but I'm just going to focus on homes as an indicator of what's going on in Sandestin, okay? So single family homes over the past 12 months, average price per square foot, $568 a foot. List price to sales price ratio, 89%. If you're not familiar with that, again, it's just the discount that the buyers are getting off the list price is what that's relating, around 11% off based on the average. Average days on market, 94. Number of transactions, 114. That doesn't mean anything for now, but let's go over here and look. 2023, they had 118 transactions for single family homes. In 2024, 114. So that's down 3%, okay? Sold volume, 204 million in 23, 166 in 24. So that's down 18%, okay? So the number of sales were down just 3%, number of transactions, but the sold volume is down 18%. So what's that gonna mean? Well, average sales price. 2023, average sales price is 1.729 million. 2024, 1.452 million, down 15%, okay? That's pretty healthy, Sandestin. So they went down about 15%. Now, a lot of it is inventory driven in there. There's a lot of different pockets and neighborhoods. So I'm not trying to throw a whole blanket over everybody because we saw some really fantastic things. But by comparison to the rest of the 38 Destin corridor, it's down 15% on their year-over-year transactions. Yeah, excuse me, average sales price. That's just what it is. While they're only down 3% on their number of transactions. So they sold about the same, but they sold them for less money, is the moral of that story, right? Average days on market went from 64 in 23 to 94 in 24. I feel that. I've got a couple listings in there. It's taking longer to sell, up 47%. And inventory down about 18% in Q4 alone. So Q4 23, we rounded the corner with 73, 24, 60. So that would be great. If we saw the number of inventory going down in Sandestin, that would be phenomenal, or at least holding steady, because their average price point, I think, has suffered a little bit because of the run on inventory that they had. So they continue to churn out a great number of transactions, staying steady with what they did in 2023. Just unfortunately, they sold those that they did for less money than they did in 24, okay? So love to see Sandestin rebound a little bit overall on that price point. All right, Miramar Beach. This kind of, Miramar Beach is that area, once you get outside of Sandestin is what this is referring to. Once you get outside of Sandestin and pushes through right up before you get into the Destin area, before Destin Commons, okay? We're just gonna do single family homes. I know there's a ton of condos down there, but just for the sake of time and just for a good average, we're talking about single family homes. So 2024 numbers on the single family homes in Miramar Beach, $500 per foot average on those sales. List price to sales price ratio, 91%, okay? Meaning that buyers got about a 9% discount when they negotiated off of the list price. 106 days on market, that's in line with what we were feeling over there. And number of sales, 100. So let's see what that means by comparison. So when we go over to home sales for Miramar Beach, 146 in 2023, 100 this year. So they're down 32% on the number of transactions, okay? That doesn't tell the whole story. Let's see what else is going on. Sold volume, 173 million in 23, 141 million in 2024. So down 19%. So listen, when we've got the number of sales down 30%, but the number of the sold volume is only down 19%, what's that predicting about the sales price? Yeah, it went up. Average sales price in Miramar Beach in 2023 was 1.187. In 2024, it was 1.4 million. Guys, that's an increase of 19% on the average home sold in Miramar Beach during that time. It's pretty incredible. So Miramar Beach did a really good job. We were just looking at Sandestin. They weren't able to hold their price point. Miramar Beach was able to increase their price point. They sold less homes for more money. List price to sales price ratio was flat. Average days on market went from 100 to 106. That's 7%. It's almost flat. And in the inventory run, listen, the months of inventory in Q4 were from 8 to 13. I think everybody's seeing the spike in the months of inventory. But overall, Miramar Beach, let's just say it this way, because their average price, their average sales price went up 19%. They sold less homes, but they sold them for more money. And if you're gonna have a dip in the number of transactions from year over year, sometimes the market can kind of predict and go, oh man, if you had less transactions, it must mean the buyers don't wanna buy. No, the buyers wanna buy. It could be inventory driven. In this case, it was pretty flat inventory, but the ones that sold did really well and went up 19%. So we're gonna give a clap to Miramar Beach for a bit of a rebound there on the price, especially compared to some of the other neighborhoods. All right, Destin Florida real estate performance 2024. We're gonna focus on homes, all right? So let's look at 2024 for Destin, Florida. Single family homes, average price per square foot, $395 per foot. Man, that's down. Look, and I always say this, and I feel like I always have to protect Destin because it got everything started down here. But because it got everything started, it's got our oldest inventory that we deal with, and it's got a wide variety. So you look at it and go, Casey, I haven't even seen anything less than $500 per foot when I'm looking at all the other neighborhoods, even Miramar Beach. And don't forget about like East End of 38 averaging $800 and something a foot. Listen, I'm taking up for Destin. Do not pick on Destin. They produce the most inventory of anybody around, and they've got condos down there from like 19, whenever you could start building condos, okay? So they're gonna suffer a little bit on the price per square foot, all right? So that's it, I'm taking up for Destin. I don't wanna hear it. $395 per foot. List price to sales price ratio, 91%, okay? So buyers are getting a 9% discount from the list price on average. 89 days on market, and number of transactions was 218. So that's a lot of transactions, right? So let's look at the Destin homes year over year. 2023, they did 234 sales. 2024, 218 sales. So what's that mean? They went down 7% on the number of transactions, all right? Sold volume, 230 million in 2023, 202 million in 24, down 12%. So if the number of sales is down 7%, and the sold volume is down a little bit more at 12%, what's that gonna mean for the sales price? Yeah, it's gotta go down. So average sales price in Destin in 2023 was $983,000. Average sales price in 2024, $929,000, down 5%. So I can't call it flat because it's not below that 5%, so down 5% on sales price, okay? Let's look at the other indicators. Average days on market went up from 75 to 89, all right, 19%, and they've been up about 10% on the inventory, okay? So there's a big part of me that wants to call Destin pretty flat based on these numbers, and I think that's very fair to do so. Let's quickly look at the condos, because Destin has an incredible amount of condos. Number of transactions down 38% in Destin condos. Sold volume down 43%, so they had a little dip in sales price too. They went down 8% on sales price, okay? So the homes were a little bit flatter than the condos were. Condos are very inventory specific and inventory sensitive in Destin. They went up 37%, it looked 35%, it looks like, and that also drove the days on market up 53%, okay, on the condos. So when they're seeing a rush of inventory on those condos, and you know those buildings can kind of get, you know, pretty similar, that have a lot of condos in them, 16, 18 floors, it can push those price points down when you've got a lot of competition. I think that's what's going on with the condos. But I think overall the homes did okay by comparison, going only down 5% on the average sales price over the last year. So we can't get out and clap for them compared to some of the other neighborhoods where they were able to do during this time, but I would say they held their own. So listen, here's my overall and here's my ending cap for this market review of 2024. And I'm talking from 38 down to Destin. It has been a year of adjustment, but I will tell you, across the board and across all categories, not one single community was as bad or reflected from what I heard in the community. And I'm talking about what I even heard from agents, what I heard from neighbors, what I heard from people that watch TV and see the numbers. And that's why I do this. Who was keeping up? How many neighborhoods had an increase in price per square foot and price point during 2024? You gotta be shocked by that based on the narrative that's out there. So listen, the whole reason I sit down and do this and spend all this time, we put this together, Maggie works on slicing it and dicing it for you guys and making it look as pretty as we can, is because I want you to really know what's going on. Because sometimes I get those calls and I'm like, man, Casey, I'm hearing like, hey, it's taking longer to sell and doing all this stuff. And those are true. Those are true, very factual statements that it takes longer to sell. But what I'm telling you is that the price points are showing that in a lot of these pockets, even though it's taking us longer to sell, we're getting more money for them, okay? Even though the number of transactions are down, in a lot of pockets we're selling them for more. And at best, a lot of these marketplaces stayed flat during 2024. So go to the numbers. If you're not getting them from me, get them from somebody so that you know the narrative. So when the neighbors start talking, or you're having coffee, or you're having drinks, and people have been watching CNN, they're talking about St. Louis real estate or wherever. We live in a bubble within a bubble, and we have to focus on actually what's going on the ground, because we continue to be popular and people continue to buy property here, and the numbers show that overall we have probably beat the narrative on what people were saying we were going to do in 2024, even though there was an obvious adjustment time versus 2023. Now, what am I predicting for 2025? I'm not sure yet, but what I'm predicting right now, like the way I feel on the rental and with the real estate sales, is I think we're gonna stay steady with what we're doing right now. That's my feeling. And it's hard for me to throw a blanket over all that, but I do think that there's energy with a new election and everything, but I really think that when we look back on it, we're gonna stay steady. Now, you in those pockets that have less inventory or you're looking for something specific, you're gonna see some spikes. But I think whatever each of these categories did this year is gonna continue into this year. I don't think it's gonna go down. I don't think there's gonna be a huge run. I think we're gonna be steady and successful. I actually don't see the rates. I'm talking to my friends, I don't see those adjusting. I think it all promotes steadiness on the rental and real estate through 2025. I'll bring this back. Maggie, let's hear about this. I'm gonna do my prediction and we'll come back to you in January of 2025. We're gonna say how it played out. Listen, I thank all of you. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Thank you. You are a loyalist and you really care about these numbers. And Love to break these down for you at any time. Talk to you soon.